Hey, hey, hey. Welcome to the Pyramid Science Foundation Livestream. Here we explore the amazing ways energy can transform our lives, whether it's through the power of pyramids, ancient wisdom, or cutting edge research. From health and spiritual growth to agriculture and free energy, we dive into all the ways energy shapes our world. I'm Lisa Richards, Vice Chair of the Pyramid Science Foundation, excuse me, and owner of Alter Ether. And with me, as always, is Charmin Charlie Ziese, Chair of the Pyramid Science Foundation, owner of Stargate Pyramids, and a leading expert in pyramid energy and sacred geometry.
Welcome, everyone. We're going to have a great guest today, so can't wait to hear what Mark has to say. But looking forward to that.
Yeah, so we're going to have a couple announcements. We have an awesome show for you guys today. But Charlie, make sure you guys stick around because the Pyramid Science Foundation live stream is going to start pretty soon after our announcement. So, Charlie, did you want to start? Do you have any announcements today?
Yeah, I know most of you are probably busy over the holidays, but I will be on with Cliff Dunning on Earth Ancients on the 26th. I'm not sure if that's live or if it's going to be taped, but as soon as I find out, we'll try to get you some information on that, and so you can try to go see that if you're interested. Because we're going to be talking about the new book that I'm writing now, but we're going to be looking at it more from the perspective of ancient civilizations and their knowledge of sacred geometry, and specifically the sacred geometry that you find in fluid dynamics and so forth. So we're going to be talking about ancient cultures and how that knowledge has been suppressed over the years. So it should be fun. So and again, I'm writing my book. I'm working hard on it. It keeps expanding. It's growing and growing. So it is gonna be an ultimate guide. So to golden ratio scaling. So can't wait to get it out because I'm kind of this process is tedious and it always takes too long. So anyway, enough for me.
It doesn't take you long to write a book. You're writing like a freaking novel, too, and it doesn't take him long at all. But he's doing a lot of work to get it that way. But when you find out more about Cliff Dunning's show, if it's going to be live or if it's going to be available for free afterwards for people to view, let us know.
Yeah,
And I'll put it out in the
I'm
newsletter.
sure it will be on Earth Ancients afterwards. So if you don't catch it live, we'll let you know where it is and where you can watch it.
Okay. And then I have some exciting news I wanted to share. So as of today, December 18th, 2024, we've reached $600 in donations towards the bringing the suppressed frequency devices to the US. And then I have some more exciting news. So I wasn't aware that August Worley, who was our guest a couple weeks ago, is actually the man who fixes the MASS devices, the PEMF devices from Austria. And so he has one of their mats, and he's going to be going up to visit his sister in Buffalo over Christmas, and he's going to drop off one of the mats. Just so I can take it for a test run. I don't even have to pay for it. I want to see if it's something that I want to spend the money on eventually,
Oh, that's fantastic. Great.
I know. So I'm excited about that. So it's going to be on my way pretty soon in another week or so. And I've also heard from a couple other people that are planning to donate, and I have even bigger news to share too. I heard from a lady last night, but I need to finalize a couple things with her before I can announce anything for sure. But that's really huge news. So you can make donations in multiple ways. I know some people don't like GoFundMe, which is where I created it. I usually use Give, Send, Go, but GoFundMe was more of it gets more attention. So that's why I did it that way. But there are other options like Venmo, Cash App, PayPal that people prefer to donate as well. But the link is in the description below. And please share it and spread the word because this is going to be amazing, guys. You get free energy healing sessions when you donate as well. So it's not like you don't get anything in return. And the golden age is on the horizon. And that's what we're here to do is usher it in, right?
Okay.
So let's bring on our awesome guest. Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys? Thanks for having me.
Yes, we're great. We're excited to have you as well. So guys, today we have Mark Jager. He's author, researcher, musician and host of Mystic Michigan on Amazon Prime. He has 17 books to his name, including Starboard Quest series. Mark explores the cosmic connections between music, ancient wisdom, and universal harmony. And today, Mark joins us to unveil the Starboard Quest Cosmic Orchestra, revealing how the Great Pyramid of Giza serves as a symphony of musical instruments, resonating with ancient truths about sound, vibration, and balance. Welcome, Mark.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Well, take it away. We want to hear all about this. What do you got for us today?
Well, Charlie, and we'll find this especially interesting because I kind of tried to gear it in the direction that he's going with his golden proportion idea. And maybe he'll even get a few ideas he didn't know about. Who knows? That'd be hard. But
Oh, I don't know about that.
if you go back in history, you'll find in many cultures there was a mysterious ancient sage named Hermes Trismegistus. And if you could put that up, yeah, there he is. I'll try to stay in the center. Now, there have been various people that talked about him through history, and one of them being Lactantius, the early church father, said that Hermes Trismegistus was a prophet who was, quote, taken from among men and placed with the gods. In other words, Lactantius was saying that this man didn't die, he became an immortal being. So you can go to many different ancient cultures. In fact, in my book, Starboard Quest Treasure Hunt, I cover 9 different ancient historians or groups actually of people, and they all have records of a man who achieved immortality. Everyone from the Sumerians to the Babylonians, and in the religions, the Muslims, there's the Greeks, the Egyptians, the Arabians, the Romans, the Hebrews, and in the Christian religion, they all have records of a man back during this time period, supposedly, or not supposedly, I believe it actually happened, that ascended into the immortality without dying. So, and many of them also say that this same man built the Great Pyramid. And you guys are just going to have to do with this what you will. You know, I'm just telling you what the research says and what different people believe through history.
Mhm.
So, and if you look at this depiction of him here, it's one of the best known depictions of him. You find that he's wearing one of these conical hats
Yeah.
that I heard. And I just thought that that was interesting that they depicted him wearing one of these conical hats.
Mhm.
And does it represent this angle that you've been talking about? Is there something in this with the golden proportion? It was just kind of interesting to
Yep.
see. So now going on to photograph 2, I have in my home this small knickknack, and it's a representation of Hermes Trismegistus. And he has in his hand a caduceus, which you've also mentioned the caduceus. I've
Yeah.
heard you before, right? And you've mentioned that you've measured on some of the points of this caduceus, and they're demonstrating the golden proportion or that angle you keep talking about.
Mhm. Mhm.
Wow, depiction of him, this guy that they say built the Great Pyramid. You know, some cultures say built the Great Pyramid and never died. He's also wearing one of these conical hats in this depiction of him. He's got a caduceus in his hand, and then
Yeah.
you mentioned that in the caduceus, the golden proportion was mentioned in that. And
Mhm.
when it gets to the top of the caduceus, I don't know how, you probably can't zoom in on that, but at the very top of that caduceus, there's a pine cone on top of it, on the top of this staff.
Mhm.
There's a conical shape, and then the conical shape has wings coming off of each side of it, and he also has wings on his shoe, and the wings almost kind of appear to be conical. So I'm wondering, is it the proportion? What's being
Okay.
shown by this? You know?
Well,
So
I will definitely check out some of this after the show and measure some of these things. Yeah.
yeah. So okay, so you should also know this. Supposedly, Sir Isaac Newton and Sir Francis Bacon, upon studying Hermes Trismegistus, they said that Hermes Trismegistus is the same person as Enoch in the Hebrew scriptures, which I thought was really interesting.
I've
One thing
heard.
about Enoch from the Hebrew scriptures, he ascended into immortality without facing death. And I found out through my studies that the Hebrews, and there's some Jewish people, even to this day, that don't call the Great Pyramid the Great Pyramid. They call it the Pillar of Enoch. So I thought that was
Oh.
very interesting.
Interesting. I always heard too that Thoth was also a reincarnation into Hermes, and then Hermes into Francis Bacon, or however they go in history there. And Merlin was also one of them as well. So,
So, and then if you're familiar with that kind of stuff, you're probably also familiar with the idea that alchemy came from ancient Egypt. And if you look at the idea for alchemy,
Mhm.
in the sense of it going beyond the idea of transmuting base metals into gold, you'll find that they had the belief that they could find the elixir of immortality. And there are some people that credit Hermes Trismegistus, who Francis Bacon said was Enoch. And I'm just telling you what the research has said, right?
Mhm.
yeah, our last guest was an alchemist as well, and we spoke about Ormus, mana, the elixir of life.
So, and if you were to study this more extensively, you will find that in ancient Egypt, gold was considered, quote, the flesh of the gods. So, this whole idea of kind of transmuting from a lower type of being to a higher being that would be considered a part of the god race, this transformation, it's interesting. And so, anyways, gold was associated with the sun. Okay, hold on here. I got to go back a little bit. Okay, amongst the Inca and Aztec civilization, gold was associated with the sun, and in some places it was associated with immortality and some type of enduring power, right? So, gold's immunity to decay has made it a potent symbol for immortality and enduring power worldwide. And I thought that it was interesting that Charlie had said, and I'm sure, Lisa, this is happening with you too, like you've hardly been sick since you've been in
Oh, yeah.
pyramids. And your hair has even been going back to its original color a little bit in one of the videos you were saying. So it's like I just find like this is real interesting. There's this golden proportion in all of these things. A lot of times it's associated with immortality, and gold is associated with immortality. And gold's immunity to decay was what kind of distinguished it as being associated with immortality. Then you find all of these stories of fruit staying fresh in pyramids longer,
Oh, sure.
and people not getting as sick when they're sitting in the pyramids, and like it's rejuvenating effects, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So when, like I say, when these stories come down to us from antiquity, and we hear stories of people who are trying to transmute metal into gold, is it really that they're conveying the idea of trying to discover the secrets of immortality? Because they say, oh, yeah, we're transmuting base metals to gold, but we're also trying to find the elixir of life that will grant immortality, right? So I'm kind of imagining if those symbols are one and the same type of thing of this idea. So anyways, like I was saying, gold was symbolic of immortality because it doesn't decay or rust very quickly. And we also hear stories of alchemists searching for the elixir of immortality. And then going back to the caduceus, because my ears perked up when you guys were talking about that caduceus. Uh, it's got snakes on it. And in some cultures, snakes were symbolic of immortality and
Mhm.
regeneration because they shed their skin, right? And they kind of like renew their youth type idea. And then you might look into it and find out that the caduceus is associated with the planet Mercury, and the planet Mercury is associated with in ancient cultures with immortality, and Mercury is also associated with Hermes Trismegistus. So I was thinking back to when we were in high school, and maybe we might have asked, what did the Great Pyramids represent, right? And
Mhm.
they might have said something like, oh, there was some type of monument to immortality. People wanted to go into the afterlife or whatever from there, something like that. And like, there's all these associations. So there's all of these connections, like kind of like with your idea there. What is the Great Pyramid symbolic of? Immortality to some people. The golden proportions are found inscribed in it, according to some people. What does the caduceus represent? Immortality. And you were saying that, some of the golden proportion and the angles and stuff can be found in the caduceus.
Mhm.
On the caduceus, the serpents, right? And serpents are um, symbolic of immortality to some people and regeneration. And I think at one point you were measuring the coils on the snake, and somehow the golden proportions were in there. You were measuring like the spaces, or you were doing something like that. So now, if you go back to the Septuagint, in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve were supposed to have gone on to immortality, and they were in a condition where if they didn't do what was wrong, they would not die. But then when they did wrong, they lost what? At least the physical immortality, not the spiritual, but the physical immortality. And then there were four cherubims placed to guard what? It says the four cherubims were placed to guard the way to the tree of life, to the tree of immortality. So the four cherubim had four faces: the face of a lion, the face of an ox, the face of a man, and the face of the eagle. I might not be getting this just exactly right, but then if you remember, if you go back to Egypt and you look at the Sphinx, researchers have found that the Great Sphinx, some researchers claim this, I should say. Some researchers say that the Great Sphinx in Egypt at one time had the face of a man, the tail of an ox, the body of a lion, and the wings of an eagle. And I think
Mhm.
I might have read something somewhere at some time that even in the measurements of the Sphinx, maybe it's associated with the sun, and the sun is associated with immortality. And I would bet, I don't know this, maybe you know,
Right.
maybe there's some golden proportion measurements in the Great Sphinx. So I'm getting a little bit to the clincher point. I'm getting closer. I know I'm getting kind of long winded, but so in some cultures, like I was saying, the Great Pyramid is thought to represent the tree of life.
Mhm.
Uh, if you could put on the graph of the tree of life, I didn't have that one to you, did I? Okay, no, you can just put that on. Just leave that on there because I'm getting that. So there are some who claim that the Jewish tree of life in the tree of life symbol, uh, there are indications that there's a Fibonacci sequence in the repeating patterns of the branching structures of the tree of life symbol, right? So
Mhm.
here, all this stuff with immortality and life and regeneration, and this golden proportion thing keeps coming up everywhere. And then there are some who have said that in the golden or in the inner chambers of the Great Pyramid, such as are on the screen right there, they say that it's a calendar. Have you ever heard that? Them talking about that theory, that inch per
No.
year or whatever, it's
Mhm.
like demonstrating a calendar. Well, if you follow that train of thought, the belief was that the calendar leads to the king's chamber up there. And the king's chamber, and at some point in this point of ascension, the whole thing is like you're ascending as you go under the Great Pyramid. And at some point, you reach the king's chamber. And there are some who believe that the king's chamber represents reaching the point of immortality. And then if you get to the king's chamber, if you go to the next slide there, I think the next slide is within the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid. Oh, no, that's not.
Octaves is the next one. Or wait, no, I'm sorry, this one. Here we go.
Yeah. Okay, so that on the far left there, that would be the king's chamber. Well, in there's an empty granite coffer. And there's some people that believe that that's symbolic of an empty coffin because they've never found any bodies in there, as far as from what I've heard. And what would an empty coffin bring? The conquering of death, immortality. And there are some researchers who have told us that pi and the golden ratio are found in the measurements of the king chamber. So there, once again, is this whole idea of immortality in that golden proportion thing, right? So, and the king's chamber is built in a ratio of 1:2, which in music, a 1:2 ratio is the ratio of an octave, of a new octave. Right. So, anyways, they also found that this granite coffer in the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid is the same size as the ark in the Ark of the Covenant, which was in the Holy of Holies in Solomon's temple. And because the Ark of the Covenant is considered to closely approximate the golden ratio, the Ark of the Covenant is described as being 2.5 cubits long and 1.5 cubits wide and high, resulting in a 5:3 ratio. And the 5:3 ratio is considered a Fibonacci number pair, which approximates the golden ratio.
Mm-hmm.
So here again is the immortality, this idea of transcending beyond it. I'm getting close. I'm long-winded. So remember earlier of how I was talking about how in ancient cultures gold was symbolic of immortality. And what do we have if you look at the instructions for the Ark of the Covenant and the Holy of Holies? We have an ark originally built out of wood,
Mm-hmm.
which wood is a corruptible substance. And this corruptible material has been overlaid with gold, which is an incorruptible clothing, so to speak, that will not decay. So, you know, the idea of the alchemist that we're in this, what they were always looking for was this idea of being able to kind of like metamorphose almost into a higher type of being, and they were looking for this elixir of immortality.
Mm-hmm.
So the ark in the Holy of Holies is the same exact size as this granite coffer in the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid. They're both exactly the same measurement. Both exhibit the proportion. And here we see it's all associated with immortality. So now you're probably okay. So now I'm getting to the clincher to where we're going to be able to get into our musical discussion. So, what does all of this background have to do with the cosmic orchestra that this is supposed to be about here, and the universal harmony of all things? So, if you put that diagram back on now of the musical scale, okay. A lot of us don't know this because we're just used to hearing Julie Andrews sing this Do Re Mi song and The Sound of Music. But we grew up with a false understanding of what these words in Latin even meant. They didn't mean do a deer, a female deer, ray, a drop of golden sun. Start here. As they're all Latin words going up to higher and higher levels of vibration. And the music scale leads to the very top, and it leads back to the whole idea of the dominus thing, which is an eternal realm. It's ascending levels of vibration, going up, level to level, until you've reached the level of immortality. You look at what the meanings of all of those Latin names are. I don't know how well you can see them.
Yep.
So anyways, and I'm sure you might be familiar with this. If you look into the history of our musical scale, your search will result in finding that our musical scale will be accredited to ancient Greece, and in particular to Pythagoras. But if you inquire further, you'll discover that they say that Pythagoras traveled to Egypt and lived there for 15 years. And it said that he received his knowledge of the music scale from ancient Egyptian priests. And then the ancient Egyptian priests, in turn, are said to obtain their knowledge from this mysterious historical figure named Hermes Trismegistus. And Hermes Trismegistus is said by some researchers to have ascended into immortality without seeing death. And then we find that's what the music scale is showing us, this idea of ascending from higher to higher levels of vibration to a place of immortality. Now, in the 8th century, there was a monk who actually wrote down I can't pronounce his name really. His last name is spelled Arezzo. But if you look it up, he put the do-re-mi scale together back then. But he had all of those Latin names like what you see on that chart. And in my opinion, he may have been preserving some of the knowledge given to him or given to all of us through even more ancient writings. And if, like I said, if you look at the meaning of the notes, you'll find that they are exhibiting a schematic of ascending to higher and higher realms and levels of vibration until you reach the level of the new octave, which the King's Chamber is laid out in a 1-to-2 ratio, which is like this idea of immortality. And so if you remember in our earlier, I was talking about how the King's Chamber and the Great Pyramid was thought by some to represent immortality. And like I said, it's laid out in that octave ratio. And if you look at the music scale there, like the thing that you just looked at, you can see that the idea, in the end, you'd reach this place of immortality. So now in the Renaissance, Robert Flood had this diagram of the celestial monochord. Could you put that up? Can you hear me?
There
Yeah.
you go. It's up. It's up.
Okay. So in the 1400s, there was this guy during the Renaissance named Robert Flood, and this, what you're seeing on the screen, is an illustration from one of his books, which, if I'm remembering correctly, was supposedly based on the mathematics of Pythagoras. And what he is trying to show us by this illustration, it depicts the spirit world at the very top, the universe at the middle range there, and the earth down at the bottom. And they present the whole thing as one vast harmonic structure. And each realm and level of space is depicted as a fret on a universal instrument. And at the top there, I don't know how well you can see that, but there's a divine hand tuning the entire vast harmonic structure. And that up there would be the level of the immortality. So then if you go on to the next picture of the human body as a microcosm of the universe, you'll find this idea everywhere. The top part, the top circle from the groin on up, represents the same thing as the celestial monochord. The groin corresponding to the lowest level, the heart level corresponding to the sun on the celestial monochord, and the head level corresponding to the spirit realm. And they had so many ways of looking at this. The human body was seen as a microcosm of the universe and the spirit world. And and all those levels I'm telling you about. So now, if you look at the second diagram, you'll see it marked more clearly. Have This is another depiction from the 1400s. See how they got that all sectioned out?
Mm-hmm.
The bottom level, the stomach area, was considered the material realm of Earth and that, and the chest region, the universe, space, and then the head region, all of the levels of the inhabitants of the spirit world, different types of beings in the spirit world. And if you look at the far right there, there's that column with all those numbers in there. Those are 3 different octaves of music going up.
Mm-hmm.
So then I think that if you studied the celestial monochord that was back a couple things, there's all of this number sequence that goes around. And I think that if you study that, you're going to find something in there that correlates somehow with this golden proportion
Yep.
idea you're talking about.
Well,
In a body and a space and all of this different stuff.
well, one thing I've already noticed that I'd love to try to test out here is that the 2 previous slides, the circles seem to be golden ratio circles. So I don't know if it'd be possible for you to ship me those, but I'd love to measure them and see if I'm right.
I can get them to you somehow.
Yeah, yeah, email them or something, anything like that, or give me a location for them. But yeah, I want to measure those because those look very similar to some diagrams that a colleague found as well, who's a real geometer, and he found that Kurt von Welling, I think his name was, from 300 or 400 years ago, had all these golden ratio circle diagrams similar to what you're showing, and it looks the same. So, in terms of the angles or the proportions of the circles.
So now to try to put this into a realm where something can be done with it in regards to, like, Lisa's into all of this sound healing and light healing and all of this different stuff, and it all ties in with this gold proportion. I know you guys have been studying this. So, but it came to my attention at some point a while back that much of the music we now listen to on the radio
Mm-hmm.
has elements within it that are out of sync with the harmony of the universe.
Yeah.
And that's what the big controversy thing is about the 432 hertz tuning as opposed to the 440 hertz tuning. And we've all heard about that. So I come up with this idea. I was thinking, how can we begin to incorporate more of this into the structure of music? And I came up with this thing called the 8-level pyramid of sound.
Okay.
You could put that up there on the screen. See, you got here, and I'm going to look at mine. You've got at the bottom, you have all kinds of people right now putting beneficial frequencies into music. I know this. Even get some of Royal Raymond Rife's frequencies in there. But I was thinking, what if something, and we've been trying to put some of this together, what if you took the Royal Raymond Rife frequencies, and that was just the beginning level of this? There's people that will put this thing out and say, yeah, I know we got this piece of music, and it's got all of these beneficial frequencies in it. But what if you took Royal Raymond Rifes and condensed them down somehow? And then that's the very base of the structure. And then, of course, you go the next level up to Pythagorean tuning, with what they call Pythagorean tuning, which is actually the same thing as 432 hertz tuning, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if you keep building on that, building, not just, well, that's good enough. We got, like you'll see stuff, they've got beneficial frequencies. Maybe they've got something that's done in 432 hertz tuning. What if they were to say, okay, we're not going to stop there. Now let's do stuff in universal timing, to where the rhythms and the beats and stuff like that, or any percussions that's used in this, is according to these mathematics, multiples of 432. And then you build in, you put natural sounds. You hear a lot of stuff that's got natural sounds in it. But I'm talking about not just doing these things just separately, but incorporating all of these things into one big, vast thing. Then you've got expanded instrumentation. So much of what we've listened to for like the last 60 years, right? It's just got one instrument basically, which is a guitar, because you got lead guitar, bass guitar, rhythm guitar, and drums. What if you, I mean, in your background, being in the orchestra, you had a lot broader range of instruments.
Oh,
But
yeah.
a lot of what people are listening to now is so limited. And then I thought, what if you put on top of that left-right brain synchronization? You know, there's ways through panning to just sync the two sides of the brain, you know, through like a ping pong effect. My phone is slipping here. And then you put natural rhythms in. You know, you have various rhythms from the universe and nature and stuff like that instead of the backbeats. And then the idea would be you're at a new octave and you're ready to begin again, and building upon this with even more levels that never end. So we've done a few experimental compositions, and the next one things that'll come up, we kind of can show you a little bit what that is. Um, there's one, I think the first one you have is, oh, okay. I don't have anything written down about this, but this is the idea of putting music through an alchemical process, like musical alchemy, and using all the 7 steps of alchemy as a way to refine music, to remove the bad qualities and retain the good ones. So now, I mean, that's a story in and of itself, and I've already talked for what, an hour straight.
Yeah.
So now we just got to get to the schematic of a couple of the compositions. Has anybody ever talked so long uninterrupted on your show?
Oh, yeah. Don't worry about it. You're doing fine.
So we put together, I did this with Dave Melanich, and he does stuff for Universal Studios and everything. He's a real professional, and he built a lot of this at my direction, but I'm in it too. But we thought, what if we did this composition that was recorded at different times of the year? Well, that's how it ended up happening. Hold on here, you lost me. My phone tipped over. Oops. Are you getting me? Okay,
Now we are. Yeah, that's good.
So I'll just kind of sit here with my head tilted a bit. But so you've got all of this different stuff put in here. You see at the very bottom, the depths of the world. That's visually starting out in the bottom of the ocean. All right. And you've got a universal timing of 108. If you study 108, there's a lot of special things about that too. And which of course it's like, I believe 1/4, is it, of 432. You go up and you've got heartbeats in here. Heartbeats are part of the rhythm, like natural heartbeats. And then you keep going up. You're rising up, and you've got these different chakra frequencies all placed embedded in the foundation of the thing. And you're climbing. So now you're to the lower earth, and you have a Royal Raymond Rife euphoria frequency in there. You're using clock ticks, wave rhythms, orchestral drum roll, big bend bells, and horsehoof beats as the rhythm for this section of the composition. And it keeps rising. See, now you're to the upper earth. You've got wing flaps and birds and all of these different frequencies. Then you're up to the upper worlds. And for that, we use 2 overlaid pulsar rhythms, supposedly that NASA had taken off of plasma waves with one of their satellites and transposed it over into sound waves. And you just keep climbing, until you get up to the upper realms. So my idea would be to talk to people and scientists and researchers all over the world and try to put together these symphonies with all of this type of idea in it. And you're the guy that knows about the pyramid energy, and Lisa and the orchestras. So anyways, I mean, that's kind of what I have for you.
Let me let me ask a couple of questions on this. I mean, I see that all of the frequencies will reduce to 3, 6, or 9, and that makes sense. But now, are they harm? They don't seem, each grouping seems to be kind of unique unto itself. It's not a harmonic of anything above or below it, from what I can tell. Am I correct?
Right. It's just at the time, this was like a few years ago, and at the time that we did this, it was more just kind of incorporating all of these different ideas into a piece to see if we could fit them all in.
Yeah.
They're kind of experimental, you know. They're nothing that anybody's gonna listen to and say, "Oh yeah, I can let's dance or whatever," you know.
Well,
They're not going to be like top 40.
yeah. Can we go
Hit.
back to that diagram, Lisa? Because a question. I mean, would you play? I would imagine you would play the three tones within each of these, like the social sacral chakra
Okay,
down at the bottom. You'd play the 306, 303, 606, and 1212 at the same time, I would think.
Dave has them in there. He's structured these all in there. Those
Yeah.
are more at a subconscious level. So they're there, and he's got them in the recording, but it's not something necessarily that you are consciously hearing.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
We have a couple more pictures. Did you want to go over those too,
I
Mark?
guess I remember what they were, but let's see what they are here.
Deep calls to deep.
Okay, that's just another composition and some of the stuff that we used in it. Um, so of course everything's done at 432 hertz, right? And we use dactylictic hexameter in there, which is a poetic meter used by Homer. And then we got a rhythm recorded by astroseismologist Donald Kurtz and his team at the University of Lancashire, a remake of that. It's an actual internal rhythm of a star, and then that rhythm plays in unison with dactylictic hexameter.
Okay, and then we have. Oh, sorry, Charlie. Let me go back to that.
No, well, I'm good.
Okay, and then we have this one as well, the Cosmic Orchestra again.
Yeah, no, that's the whole idea of that's just like another graph, kind of like of the celestial monochord, but just put in a different way. That's a little bit easier to understand as far as everything exhibits musical mathematics and proportion. Everything from plants to animals to human beings to Johannes Kepler and his idea of music of the spheres, and even going back to some of the different religions, where all of the major Abrahamic religions believe that angelic beings are musical beings, or at least some of them. So it's seeing the whole thing as one vast harmonic structure or orchestra being conducted by the divine conductor.
So you think that's the purpose of the Giza pyramid then? It's just it's a musical instrument that's
No,
balancing out the world?
no, I think that the Giza pyramid is representing a lot of things. You know, like it shows the supposedly shows the weight and width of the Earth, the distance from the equator to the North Pole. It sits on the center of the Earth crust, right? It supposedly shows the distance from the Earth to the Sun in its measurements. It's in biblical ideas. It's thought of like the some of the Jewish people and different things that I subscribe to. It also is said to represent Mount Zion, and then the city of New Jerusalem comes down on Mount Zion. The capstone pyramid coming down on Mount Zion is symbolic of the New Jerusalem or the capstone of the pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just a lot of different things. There are too many to mention. It represents too much. Music is just I'm not even saying that the pyramid is a musical instrument.
Right.
I'm saying all of the different things from a lot of the different sciences, as we all know, are demonstrated in the pyramid.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yep. Do you have any questions, Charlie?
Well, I'm back to that frequency chart.
You want me to bring it up again?
Have you? Yeah. I mean, have you actually done any personal experimentation with those frequencies, or have you done it on others? Or I'm just curious.
I have not experimented with it.
Yeah.
Idea was to just see if we could get it all incorporated into one big, huge musical structure like that and fit it all in.
So it's the idea that you're going to like produce some music with this, or have you done that?
Oh yeah, there's on our YouTube channel. There's 23 different compositions that we put this type of stuff in, and then like one of them,
Okay.
the deep calls to deep. If you go to the YouTube channel, you put in deep calls to deep with liner notes, the music will play, and then on the bottom of the screen it will come up and it'll show you the different elements that are going into
Oh,
there.
really? Oh, wow.
We don't do
Impressive.
everyone, but because there's so much to cover. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the work just to get it all in there in the first place.
Oh, sure, sure. Well, I definitely want to go try that out for sure.
But
Yeah.
I'd be
So
talking more about the whole symphonic idea with you because, like you said, you were in the orchestra. So,
Yeah, I mean, all of these.
oops, off the screen again.
Yeah, I mean that's why I was asking the question. It looks like each of those tone sets is sort of a unique set unto itself, but yet in some way they must be linked. I just have to believe that they would be in some way harmonically, but I don't know how.
There
So
was somebody online who took the celestial monochord and they took all the number sequences that are written on there and they have like a little, I think they took some singing bowls or something
uh-huh.
and sounded out a lot of these tones on the celestial monochord.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
hmm,
Cool.
interesting. Well, Mark, how could people find you and your work? Why don't you give them a little rundown on that?
So the Starboard Quest book series are available through Amazon, just like
Right.
all are. So there's 3 books in the series. The first one is Starboard Quest: Sailing the Sea of Sound to Explore Music's Connection to the Universe. The second one,
Oh,
Uh-oh.
we lost you. We lost you, Mark.
Well, I guess we can.
Okay. Well, I guess he's ending the show before us.
Well,
But
we'll chat for a minute, but
yeah,
I mean,
so well, thank you everybody for tuning in today. The path to a healthier, more balanced world begins with each of us. So remember that. Keep exploring, keep growing, and remember your potential is limitless. So see you guys next time.